the gift of joy. You know that moment when the wise men saw the star? They were so overwhelmed with joy. It says in Matthew 2:10 that they rejoiced with exceeding great joy. Can you imagine that? When they finally arrived at the house, there was Mary with the young child, and they fell down in worship. They brought gifts, gold, frankincense, and myrrh, showing just how special this moment was. But then, after being warned in a dream not to return to Herod, they decided to head back home a different way. Meanwhile, Joseph had his divine dream. An angel told him to get up and flee to Egypt with Mary and Jesus because Herod was hunting for the child. Without wasting time, Joseph packed up and took them away that very night. Herod, furious that the wise men had tricked him, set out a cruel plan. He ordered all boys in Bethlehem under 2 years old to be killed. It's a dark story, but it highlights how the joy of the wise men was met with such sorrow in others. Now let's talk about joy for a second. It's that happy state we feel from knowing and serving God. The Bible employs various words to describe joy, including happiness, delight, and gladness. If you check, joy appears over 150 times in the scriptures, and when you add in words like joyous, it goes over 200. The fact that rejoice comes up more than 200 times really shows how vital joy is in our faith. Joy sprouts from a right relationship with God, and it's not something we can just create ourselves. There's a clear distinction in the Bible between joy and mere pleasure. Pleasure often leads to a hollow chase, as Paul notes when he speaks about those who love pleasure more than they love God, 2 Timothy 3:4. Pursuing self-indulgence doesn't bring true happiness or fulfillment. That's the truth you find echoed in Ecclesiastes 2:1 through 11. Many think of God as the ultimate killjoy, but that's a myth. God knows joy intimately and wants his people to share in it. Psalm 104:31 reminds us that God rejoices in his creation, and in Isaiah 65:18, he celebrates over his redeemed people. One of the most beautiful depictions of God's joy comes in Luke 15. Jesus tells these amazing parables about joy when a sinner repents, a lost sheep, a lost coin, and the loving Father showing just how deeply God cares for us. When it comes to the story of Jesus' birth, joy is central throughout. Remember the angel's announcement of good tidings of great joy in Luke 2:10? Jesus himself talked about joy and even claimed to bring full joy to our lives. John 15:11. Consider Zacchaeus. He descended from the tree with joy when he met Jesus. Luke 19:6. As Jesus faced the cross, he reassured his followers that their sorrow would turn into joy. John 16:20-22. And through the resurrection, that joy triumphed, as seen in Luke 24:41. In Acts, we see how joy defines the early Christians. After Philip preached in Samaria, there was great joy in that city, Acts 8:8. Paul and Barnabas spread joy wherever they went, and the Philippian jailer rejoiced at his newfound faith, Acts 16:34. The reality is that joy is deeply connected to walking with the Lord. When believers are close to him, they can find joy even in difficulty. Matthew 5:12 highlights this, along with Paul's encouragement in Romans 5:3-5 to rejoice in suffering. Joy in the Lord helps us appreciate all the blessings he's given us: family, food, celebration, and fellowship. It even encourages us to share in the joys and struggles of others, Romans 12:15. Robert J. Dean expressed beautifully how we receive gifts of hope love, and joy, especially during Christmas. Yet some people leave the holiday feeling emptier than before. Why does Christmas, a supposed season of joy, often feel overwhelming or dreaded for so many? Ultimately, it's often because the joy that's sought exists in the wrong places. Imagine if I could wrap these gifts and place them under the tree just waiting for you to open them. However, joy truly needs to be experienced personally. Many hope for joy this Christmas, but that joy isn't found in material gifts. Christina Rossetti reminds us in her poem that true giving is a matter of the heart. Have you ever wished for joy on your list? Deep down, many of us have. It's about finding a sense of belonging, which isn't impacted by others' opinions or possessions. It's about your journey. I often think of families who grieve during the holidays. I find comfort in Psalm 30, verse 5b, which says, "Weeping may endure for the night, but joy comes in the morning." It gives me strength because I genuinely believe joy is a gift from God that transforms us. I love the story of joy at the wedding in Cana. It demonstrates how joy originates from within, emanating from God's heart, and how it is a byproduct of a transformed life in Christ. In summary, joy starts with receiving Christ. It spreads out to others, influencing our relationships and experiences.